Hello, and welcome to the For the Arts podcast, brought to you by the Arts Council of Fayetteville, Cumberland County. I'm your host, Miles McKeller-Smith, Director of Public Relations at the Arts Council. We would like to thank the City of Fayetteville for creating this space for the arts on Radio Fayetteville. The aim of our podcast is to offer another platform to keep artists, patrons of the arts, and everyone in between up to date with the latest arts and culture news in the region. Let's get right into our news and events for this month. Time is running out to view Paradox of the Observer, Comics on Art and Community, featuring work by Southeastern artist in residence, Hannah Krieger. The exhibit closes on August 16th. Paradox of the Observer explores the concept of the observer's paradox through the use of journal comics. Hannah will join us later in the show to discuss the exhibit, as well as her time as our resident artist. Join us at 6 p.m. on September 4th for the opening reception of our next exhibit, Celebration of Sapphire, Male Art from Around the World. This exhibit will be on display from September 4th through October 25th, 2026. It's our favorite time of the year. The 48th Annual International Folk Festival takes place on September 25th and 26th in downtown Fayetteville. This year, we're kicking off the festivities on Friday in partnership with Cool Springs Downtown District and El Centro Hispano. The crowd favorite Parade of Nations will begin at 10 a.m. on Saturday, September 26th, with the festival grounds opening upon the parade's conclusion. We have a variety of applications open for individual artists looking for resources and support. Our first guest of the show is Michael Haupt, Director of Artistic Communities, to discuss opportunities that are currently available for artists. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hey, Miles, how you doing?
Doing well.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's get right into this. Before we get into the opportunities, I know that you recently had a title change. Would you like to tell the public about your updated title?
Sure, yeah. I know a lot of individuals and organizations in the community through the Arts Council, through what I've been doing for the last 5 years, which is the Director of Grants here. But we've rearranged that, some titles here in the building, and I've assumed the role of Director of Artistic Communities, which is still a foot in the grant world. I'm still working with all of our individual artists and teaching artists through our arts education programs with Kashia Knight, just to make sure that we have sufficient grants and professional development opportunities for the artist in the community, while also taking a lead role now in our gallery operations, public art, and then just anything really artistically outward facing with the community.
Awesome. It's great that we were able to consolidate that role to help streamline some of those processes. So, yeah. Well, let's get to some of the applications that we have open. I'm just going to kind of go through the list that we have. Let's start with the Artist Support Grant.
Yeah, so this is an annual grant that we provide. We are one of, I believe, 14 or 15 regions in the state that is tasked with project managing this grant for the North Carolina Arts Council. They have a wonderful mission to support every county in North Carolina. They have a wonderful grassroots art program, which puts allocations across all 100 counties. And then for individual artist support, they sort of task these different zones. And so we take care of Cumberland, Hoke, Robeson, Sampson, and Scotland County on behalf of the North Carolina Arts Council. It is a grant that has a due date of September 15th this year, so that we have time to evaluate and sort of just really get to know these proposals before awards are made in November. Artists then have a 13-month contract with the Arts Council of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, during which they produce their projects. It can be the completion or development and completion and exhibition of a body of work or some sort of other type of performance. It is open to artists of all disciplines and all phases of the career. So, if you're in the first year of your career, if you're in the 50th year of your career, there's support dollars for you coming down from the state. And then, project grants for that go up to about $2,000.
Nice. Do artists specifically have to apply for projects, or are they able to use their funding for other expenses?
It is a professional development grant, so you qualify with an eligible project if you are completing and exhibiting or completing and exhibiting a project, but also you do qualify for the grant if you are purely seeking professional development. So if you are in a super niche field and there's that one conference that happens up every year in Portland and you need to go there for professional development, this is the type of grant that could help you travel to for industry-wide things like that.
Great to know. Thank you. Let's move into the creative impact cohort. What about that?
Sure, yeah. So this is more of a project style grant, and it has a little bit more narrow of a focus. The artist support grants are broadest scope in terms of eligibility. The creative impact cohort, you got to be a Cumberland County resident. And similar to the artist support grant, it has a professional development mindset, but this one is more project led. So this one you do have to culminate in some sort of exhibition or performance. It is open to all disciplines, and so that final product, can be the publication of a book. It can be the exhibition of a body of visual artwork. It can be the release of a short film. Anything that is artistic in nature would qualify, but it does have to have that public component. And this is also an 8-month contract. So we would make the awards. The applications are due in August 17th, in just a couple of weeks. And we make the awards in October, and that starts the contract period. And then artists have until June to work on those projects. And what really sets the creative impact cohort aside from other grants that you would find in the region is that it is a networking cohort style grant. For that 8-month period, you're going to be working with the Arts Council staff, particularly myself, to make sure that you get to the finish line with success. One thing that we typically see in individual artist grants is, especially those who are newer to the grant cycle, operating under the parameters of a grant contract, often have a lot of questions. And so we just want to make sure that we can provide ourselves as a resource so that everyone feels successful. So that grant program comes with monthly cohort meetings. You meet with ourselves at the Arts Council as well as all of the other grantees in the cohort. So for 8 months, you're sort of building a network with 9. We can make 10 awards. So, once you're in that, you're in a group setting with 9 others, sort of like a graduate level class of like once a month meetings. They're pretty robust. We just go over best practices, tips sharing. And we do bring in also some specialized professional development. So, if grantees are looking for best practices around, what to do when taxes come, we can provide a service to have a guest speaker come in and talk about that, just to make sure that everyone, feels good about, any sort of questions they have during a granting process.
Nice. What type of disciplines have you seen through the first 2 cohorts? Just, off the top of your head, as people are listening.
Yeah, we typically receive proposals mostly from visual artists. When people think about the Arts Council and what we do, we often get tagged with, being a visual art organization. But we do embrace all different types of art forms, mediums, and disciplines. In the first 2 cycles of the creative impact cohort, we've had this up and running since last year. This replaced our historically known as the mini grant program. We've seen theater artists, we've seen literary artists, we've seen classical and contemporary musicians receive the grant to do things like produce concerts for themselves, finally record and release an album, a children's book, a memoir, a book that was fiction, a photography collection. We have some public artists who, when they come and they have their proposal, they have a wall that they already have permission to, throw a mural up on. And so their project is helping, see that through to fruition. So it's really any type of discipline you can think of, we've already sort of touched on. And we're just always open for other new, unique things. We often are looking for disciplines and projects that sort of fill a gap that we see. One that I'll go ahead and name is we rarely see dance projects. And so something that is, choreograph based or performance art based is, an underrepresented discipline in the area. And so other than that, we've sort of touched on most common disciplines.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying. Any choreographers or dancers listening, please look at this opportunity and consider submitting materials to be considered.
Absolutely.
Let's move right into the Southeastern Artist in Residence program. What about that?
Yeah, so this is, talking about artist support grant being the broadest, this is the most narrow opportunity that we do provide, because at the end of the day, one person's going to get this. And this is this next cycle of this program would be an 8-month residency contract. So this is a paid monthly stipend position with the Arts Council for an 8-month contract. We look for mid-career artists, and so individuals who don't necessarily apply or identify as at the beginning of their career phase or emerging, but maybe not as advanced as saying, oh, I'm a well-established artist. Like people who are looking for that next thing to really take their career to the next level. And it comes with a few perks. One, there is that stipend, that monthly stipend. Over the 8 months coming up, this would be ultimately a $10,000 contract for the artist. But there are a lot of just real-world obligations that it comes with. That artist is going to be tasked with teaching 2 public workshops that we host here at the Arts Council. So there's a lot of public engagement. They have to hold open office hours, and so members of the public can come in and watch their practice, watch their discipline come to life in the studio, which they have 24-hour access to. So when you are selected as the artist in residence here at the Arts Council, you do get 24-hour access to a studio here in our building, which should just provide you like the time and the space to create as you need to. And then this ultimately culminates with a solo exhibition. So this artist, whose contract would start in October, it sort of runs on the same timeline as the Creative Impact cohort. And so applications and proposals are due in early September for a contract that would begin in October and end in June of next year. But that last quarter of that project period, April and May, the artist in residence would have their own solo show in the full gallery, like take up the entire space with just their body of work.
Awesome. And if anyone has questions about any of those opportunities, who should they reach out to discuss their application or any questions?
Yeah, that would be me. And so, if anyone is in the midst of applying for any of our grants or has questions about any of the grants, especially individual artist grants, you just got to set up a time to come and chat with us just to make sure that you're a good fit and that you understand the parameters. I always do my best to, schedule as many one-on-one meetings as an applicant needs just to make sure that they feel fully supported, because at the end of the day, it's our board of directors who ultimately reviews all the final funding decisions. And so I'm just here as a resource to the community to make sure that they understand the guidelines and feel supported to apply.
Absolutely. And the last one I have for you is, I know that we have a exhibit RFQ coming up. And so this is just something that's not necessarily a funding opportunity, but just an artistic opportunity for visual and music artists, correct?
Well, so it's going to be just visual artists, but so you're talking about our upcoming exhibit known as 246. This is going to be the first time we've done an exhibit that follows this sort of design and theme, but this RFP for the community will be coming out pretty soon, and everyone will be able to take a look at it. And as those applications start and those proposals start, they would also reach out to me. But what we're looking for is essentially, following that, sort of plucky catchphrase of 246 it'll be 4 artists will be selected, and they will jointly curate the gallery. So we will divide our gallery at the Arts Center into 4 zones, and 4 artists will be selected to each curate their own section of the gallery. Their curation has to follow just two things that we're asking. One is that the artist will keep 2 words in mind. And those words can be documented as part of the exhibit. It can be just a feeling that they want the audience to take away. But these are 2 words that sort of thematically capture everything that you're doing with the visual art work that you are installing. And then also, while the viewer is here taking in your corner of the gallery, your section, we want to know 6 songs that are also inspired by this installation that the viewer could experience listening to these 6 songs while looking at the work, while thinking about the 2 words that you've selected, to try and just create a whole narrative feeling. So it's 2 songs or 2 words from 4 artists and 6 songs. And these are found songs. They don't have to be original creations. So it's not like a musician needs to apply with 6 original songs and how that will match an installation. It's a visual artist can say here are 6 popular songs that really are meaningful to this installation that I would love the audience to take away. And when the viewers are looking at that, we'll have QR codes in each zone so that people can pull up those songs, but we're also going to plan to have them on Playlist, yeah, there we go. Played in intervals throughout the day. I think I was looking for the word interval throughout the day. And yeah, so that proposal will go live shortly. It'll be open for about 30 days while we're taking proposals from community members. Anyone essentially in the region could submit a proposal, but I'll say, this is sort of lifting up a lot of local artist support that we do, and so we are looking for proposals preferred from Cumberland, Hoke, Robeson, Sampson, and Scotland County artists.
Awesome, Michael. Thank you so much for swinging by to talk about all those opportunities. Our next guest is our Southeastern artist in residence, Hannah Krieger, who is currently wrapping up her exhibit, Paradox of the Observer. Thanks for joining us, Hannah.
Hey, good to be here.
So before we talk about your time as a resident artist, I'd love to just kind of get into the concept of this exhibit. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, so the exhibit is called Paradox of the Observer. I stole it directly from the Observer's Paradox, which is a real phenomenon that was found and written about by William Labov. William Labov was studying sociolinguistics about how different people speak casually in their own dialects, but he found that the more he observed them, the more they would change how they spoke, because people are more likely to speak less casually when they know that, they're being studied for academic purposes. They're more likely to start talking all fancy. And so he wrote about the observer's paradox, where it's impossible to separate the observer from the observed, because the observer is gonna have an effect on the observed. If the observed knows they're being observed, they're gonna change. And so I wanted to take that concept and explore it in the context of making art and also just, living in a society, because making art and living in a society, they're kind of really intertwined, because making art is like making yourself be seen. You are presenting yourself, your unique viewpoint to the world, and it's very vulnerable, and sharing it, it's going to be seen, that people might interpret it in a way that you don't like, people might not like it, and so that can even change how you approach art if you're going to make art in the first place. And so this is a show that has a bunch of comics exploring that concept and what I think of that concept, because that was another thing about the body of work, is I wanted to look inwards, because I don't often do that. I wanted to explore autobiographical comics because, a few years ago I struggled really hard with feeling that I was not a real person, and so I denied myself the activity of looking inward, because I felt like it was too self-absorbed, it was arrogant to look inward and give my own thoughts any sort of importance. And so I've gone through a journey of healing, and so part of that healing journey, I wanted to take this opportunity and say, hey, I'm gonna do the hard thing and try to treat myself as a person worthy of listening to. So the Paradox of the Observer, this exhibit features all of my comics about, 1, the observer's paradox, 2, that mental health journey, and 3, learning that I am part of a society, realizing that people can see me and they see me as a person, and how that's such a kindness. Just taking those mundane interactions with strangers that, say someone might see my broken trunk and say, hey, your trunk is open, and I'll go, yeah, it's just broken, but that person took time out of their day to extend a helping hand and say, hey, I'm looking out for you, close your trunk.
So I love that as a concept, because I think that's something that we all, of course, deal with without even recognizing it. And the really curious part about that for me is the fact that you were currently in a position where people were literally watching you make your art. And, you had visitors who might come by just to see your process or ask you questions, and not always planned. They might just have popped in any random day. Did the Did your time as resident artist help inspire part of that concept, or is that something that you kind of knew you wanted to explore before you got here?
It was something that I knew I wanted to explore before I got here. Part of the application process was thinking about what kind of project that you wanted to pursue during the residency period. And so I had an idea of like, okay, autobio comics, art making community. Those were my themes that I had from the beginning. Did I know exactly how they would turn out? No, I didn't know exactly how that form would take, but I just thought about it and pursued it and sketched it, and it all came together. A lot of it came together towards the end of the residency, which was very stressful, but sometimes things take time. There's an author, Nnedi Okorafor, who she tweeted once in like 2013, a tweet that stuck with me forever, which is a vital part of the writing process is sometimes just staring at the wall. And I'm so like, real. It's so true. Sometimes you just need that time and space to think about it and just let it come to you. That's why we get so many ideas in the shower. Like, we're just giving it the space to come to us. But to return to people coming into the studio, that was something that took some getting used to, but it was also something that I was fully prepared for. I knew that that would be happening. That was part of the residency. It was, part of the agreement. People are going to come in. But it was still something that I was nervous about because people will see the bad drawings that go into making good drawings. But that was something that I wanted people to see, because there is this idea that there are artists and there are non-artists. And as we grow up, we start out drawing as children, and then as we get older, a lot of us fall off and stop that drawing. And then there's this idea that, well, if I'm not good at it, then I'm not going to pursue it. But we've been drawing, we've been storytelling for tens of thousands of years, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, depending on what school of thought you take for some of the artifacts we found, if they are art or not. But it's a human behavior, much in the way that dogs dig holes and cats scratch things and they want to be up high. Like, this is a behavior that we naturally gravitate towards. You see, it's an instinct when we're little. We want to dance, we want to draw, we're making stories. It's just, we do that naturally. And so I wanted people to come into the studio and see my sketches. I plastered the wall with my sketches that were basically pictures of nothing, like they were just scrawls, or maybe I was practicing my handwriting, or maybe it was a beautiful sketch and it looked awesome. And then it'd be next to my finished pieces where people see, hey, this started from this. This polished thing started from the scrawl, this idea. And anyone can start here. If you think that you can't draw, well, look at your supposedly bad drawings and compare it to this extremely scrawly sketch that I put right here. They probably look really similar. It all starts somewhere.
That is so important for people to see. And one thing that I found very cool about how you presented the exhibit once you left your studio is that you included part of that process, so people could see how it went from a demo zine per se all the way up to the finished product of your final prints, and just beyond the illustrations, also how the narratives and everything kind of came together in your fonts, and just I really appreciated the transparency of that. And I think that is every time I walk through the gallery, I see people really taking it in and just really going through your sketches. So I think that there's something that really resonates with people there, because it can be so easy to just look past that and think we got to have the perfect version of it. So talk to us a little bit about your time beyond visitors, about your time as a resident artist. What was that 6-month span like for you?
It was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, because on the one hand, oh my gosh, I'm free to do whatever I want and I'm getting paid for it. I don't have to worry about where my next freelance gig is going to come from. On the other hand, that freedom is extremely intimidating, because I could do anything. What if I pick the wrong thing? What if I pursue something and it turns out I don't like it? What if I'm not doing my time here properly? What if I'm wasting away and I've been given this wonderful opportunity and I'm not doing enough with it? They believe in me. I need to make this good. And those concepts ended up making it to the final show of there's a comic that says, spoilers, I want to make this comic good. People will see it. People will read it. Reader, does this look okay? What was the original question?
Yeah. No. About your time as a resident artist.
Yeah. I spent a lot of the studio time just sketching and noodling, and when people would come in, I would be an ambassador. I would switch to ambassador mode of, hey, I'm a cartoonist, I'm a published illustrator, here's my process. Please feel free to leave me a drawing, because I had a sketchbook in the studio space where I wanted people to give me drawings. And I just let the idea for the show gradually come to me, even though it was very stressful. But resting is a part of work, because if you have a 0% battery, you're not going to get anything done. And at the time when I started the residency, I did have a 0% battery. I was very burnt out, and the residency gave me the opportunity to bounce back from that, kind of gradually let the creative juices come back so I could direct them towards something that I wanted to do. Because I didn't mention this before, but I am a freelance illustrator. I've been published in a few books. I work with a lot of different clients, and the main mission of the job is to bring other people's ideas to life. And so that worked very well in previous years when I was convinced I wasn't a real person. I was like, this is great. I'll just do other people's ideas. I don't have to worry about my own. But now it's time for me in a new phase of life to start looking inward and become a new kind of artist. So I went and did that.
Yeah. And you did it well. This is an exciting time, it sounds like. Again, just being able to have that reflective nature to your work. As you look to the future, what are you looking to do next? What's exciting you about your future endeavors?
Well, I don't know what my art's going to look like in the future, but there are a few exciting things that I'm going to be doing and that are going to be happening. So I have another book coming out. It's called Earth to Chris Cleavey. It was written by Christoph Bogach, and the art was done by me and Sammy Savos. I sketched all of the pages and she inked them. So it was a fun collaboration. It turned into something new that neither of us would have been able to draw on our own. But it's a graphic novel about a kid with OCD who thinks that if he ties his shoelaces correctly and flips the light switch the correct amount of times, he will prevent aliens from invading Earth. Like, that is on his shoulders, and it's very stressful for him. He thinks that his mom's new boyfriend is an alien in disguise and he has to protect her from it. And it's just a great book full of heart. I'm allowed to say that it's a really well-written book because I didn't write it. I'm not tooting my own horn, but it's drawn really well too, just saying.
Hey, there we go.
So that's coming out later this month. And also I'm getting into teaching more. So I've been teaching drawing classes at Muse & Co. downtown, where it's like a boba shop and an artist studio. You can take classes or you can just drink drinks and paint whatever you want. I'm also going to be teaching drawing at Methodist University this fall. Exciting. So I'm really excited to meet more students and help people along in their artistic journey, because that was something that I really liked about this residency, is talking to people. Even though I was very kind of stressed out about meeting people and them seeing my art, it's still very rewarding to talk to people and just have that back and forth about where are you at with your artistic journey? How can I help you?
I love that. I'm so happy for you, Hannah, and it's been a joy having you here as our resident artist. And we're wishing you the best with all of those endeavors.
Thank you. I'm going to be so sad when I have to turn in my key to the Arts Council.
We're going to miss you, but again, we're
I
off to
miss
better
you
things.
guys.
That concludes this episode of For the Arts. Thank you for listening. You can find our podcast on the Radio Fayetteville podcast channel, available on your favorite streaming platforms. Be sure to subscribe to listen to every podcast that Radio Fayetteville has to offer. We end this episode with music by Duo Gitiano, featuring guitarist Carlos Castilla and pianist Amanda Vireles from their latest recording, Strings. The track is titled Ocean Train Second Movement, Real Azul, composed by Nadia Borislova. Bye.